I have Robbie Ring on the show now, who fights next on August the 13th at Aries Amp'd when he meets Jacob Kilburn. Robbie, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, and we're a little ways away from fight night, August 13th, but it will be here before you know it. So let's just start with your camp and your training partners. You're on your way there to the gym right now, so just run me through who you have around you day to day.
A lot of just hardworking guys. I'm from a super small area, Whitfield, Virginia. There's not many people in the community, but the guys that we have at the gym, we got a gym full of killers. Micah Sheffy, he's got over 30 amateur fights. We've got Tyler Cardwell, he's 11-0 as an amateur. I'm the only pro that we have at our gym, but I'm also training at some gyms in North Carolina with UFC fighter Brian Battle, who's helping me prepare for this fight. But the cool thing about me training here in Whitfield is my parents own this gym. They're both lifelong martial artists, so I get a lot of attention from my parents. And it's not just training at the gym, for a few hours a day. This is something that I do all day long. I wake up and we're talking about fighting, or we're reviewing techniques at the house. So that's something that I've really got working for me here.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I was just going to say, you look fairly young. How old are you?
I'm getting ready to be 22, July 14th. So I'm still pretty young.
And you don't have anything else that you're doing, not school, not a day job. You're MMA full time.
Yes, sir. I'm a part-time trainer at Anytime Fitness Gym here in the morning times, but I get to work out on the job and stuff. So I'm still training. I finished college. I've got a college degree. So right now, my main focus is on taking fighting as far as I possibly can.
Wow, fantastic. It sounds like you have all the boxes checked for doing everything you need to really progress in the sport. With your parents being lifelong martial artists, is this something that you just remember from like the youngest of ages, where you were always on the mats, whether it was wrestling, jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, for sure. My mom actually runs an MMA promotion too that started up in 2007. It's called Titans of the Cage. It's an all amateur promotion. So even as a young boy, I remember watching MMA fights really right when MMA started to become cool. Back at that time. So I remember watching fights, and then I also remember my mom and dad teaching classes from, me being 3 years old out there with them having a gym full of guys on the mats, grappling, doing karate, because that's what I started out doing, was Tang Soo karate. And it's just something that I've always been around my entire life. As far as I can remember, I was crawling on the mats, about getting trampled by these guys throwing each other around.
So you're 4-0 as a professional right now. You were undefeated as an amateur too, and you had a pretty extensive amount of fights as an amateur. Is there one area of your game that maybe you needed to work more at, that you struggled at, or have you just been pretty well versed regardless of the discipline?
Well, I've always felt like I was pretty well rounded. As I've progressed as a pro fighter, there's more of the smaller aspects of MMA fighting that I think that I need to improve on. Even if it's just like one tiny position on the ground, or if it's something like cutting angles on my feet, that's kind of what I've been working on the most. For instance, if I need to work on my guard positioning, if my dad sees something in practice that I need to improve on, that we can break it down and things like that. But as far as, just as a whole, stand up and ground, I've always worked both. So it's not been like one comes easier than the other. It's just the small details of things.
Now, as I'm sure you're very well aware, the sport of mixed martial arts, it just keeps evolving and getting bigger and bigger. There's promotions popping up all over the place. The UFC is as big as it ever has been. So I wanted to ask you, is there somebody that, maybe was in the UFC or another promotion that maybe you looked up to when you were a little bit younger, or like a favorite fighter, someone that maybe you model your style after?
Oh yeah, I definitely. One of my favorite fighters of all time is actually, a pioneer, really old school, and that's Kazushi's Pride. The way that he just was entertaining in every fight, and he just left it all out there in the cage or the ring, with it being Pride. Um, I've always respected that, but probably my favorite fighter that gave me just the most inspiration and really just made me want to get to where he's at is Dominic Cruz, because as a smaller weight fighter and somebody that's not super tall or super buff, if I just looked at him and I said, I'm built kind of like that guy. If he can do it, I can do it. I love the way he moves. I love the way he fights, and he's a true professional, and he's probably the fighter that I look up the most to.
Okay, I love that answer. I love Dominic Cruz too, so we got that in common right there. Now, as far as other sports, other hobbies, do you get into anything else, or are you pretty much just this is your sport, this is what you're doing all the time, and you don't really have time for anything else?
Most guys will lie to you and say that they don't have time for anything else. MMA fighting and training takes up a lot of time, but there's always time that you can have a side hobby and enjoy. I really enjoy fishing. Being down here in the South, that was always a big thing. Go on the boat and catch some bass fish. But my uncle, he's actually a professional bass fisherman, and we sometimes, I get done with the whole day's worth of training, and it's 8:30 at night. We'll just hop on the boat and go catch some fish. So that's something I kind of like to do to, clear my mind and just, get out into nature and enjoy it.
Forgive my ignorance because I'm not too familiar with what is around your area where you live, but do you have to worry about anything when you're out there fishing? Like, are there gators around at all?
Not so much alligators. Where we're from, about the most that you're gonna get is like a musky fish that's got teeth, but nothing that's gonna like come up and get you while you're on the boat. Most of the time we're fishing in lakes and things like that. And if you go a little bit more south, where I'm from, into like South Carolina, you start getting those gators, and they can you gotta watch them. They'll
Yeah.
get you.
Yeah, no, thank you. Let's talk about weight classes. You were mentioning, Dominic Cruz earlier, and you being a smaller guy. I have noticed that, I guess primarily bantamweight is your weight class, but you've also fought at lightweight. You fought at 155. So, what is the plan for you moving forward? Is there a certain weight class that you want to stick in, or would you bounce back from a weight class to and from?
So the funny story about the lightweight fight is that was actually a last minute replacement fight. One of my opponents pulled out, I think, like a week before the event. And so the promotion ended up finding me a last minute replacement. The fight was supposed to be at 145 pounds, but he came in overweight. So they made it a lightweight bout. So that's, I only weighed in at like 146 pounds for that fight. But I want to stay at bantamweight. Of course, this fight coming up against Jacob Kilburn is going to be in the featherweight division. So I've went up 10 pounds for this fight, but I'd like to stay at bantamweight until I can't make bantamweight anymore. I am a pretty good sized bantamweight fighter, but I'm probably an average to a smaller sized featherweight fighter.
Okay. What do you typically walk around at? Like, what was your weight today?
It's 155 pounds is about what I normally stay around. If I get much more above that, it's probably because I've been eating too much Mexican food or something. Eating good. But usually I keep my weight about 155.
Okay. Well, this upcoming fight, again, it's August the 13th. Oh, I lost you there for a second. There you are.
Sorry about that.
No worries, man. This is Aries Amp'd. That's the name of the promotion in the event. It's going to be in Nashville, Tennessee. How far is that from where you live? Is it a quick trip for you and your team to make?
This fight is actually about 6 hours away from me. It's not too terribly far away. It's not one that I'm going to have to, fly out and get plane tickets and stuff for. But it's not it's not as close to home as I'm used to fighting. But I'm excited to get out and finally see some places. I've fought in Kingsport, Knoxville, Tennessee. Um, those are smaller places in Tennessee, so it's going to be kind of cool to get to see the music city of Nashville.
Yeah, no doubt. I've actually been once myself. It's a great town, so I'm sure you'll love it. Are you going to stick around after the fight and do some sightseeing, or are you just going
Yeah,
to visit?
that was my plan. Was after I go in there and take care of work, to have a small little vacation after and go to like maybe the Country Music Hall of Fame and get to see some of those things I've always heard of growing up.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you'll enjoy yourself. And I know first this is a business trip. So let's talk about your opponent, Jacob Kilburn. He's 8-6. He's lost 4 in a row, but I was looking at his records and he's fought nothing but tough guys. I mean, Billy Q, Bobby Moffett, Brandon Jenkins. I mean, this guy's been in there with a lot of tough opponents. So his record probably isn't an accurate representation of how good of a fighter he is. What do you know about him? What kind of a fight are you anticipating this to be?
I know that Kilburn, he's going to be a game opponent. Yeah, and that's what I've been wanting. After my last couple of fights and my post-fight interviews, I said I want a tough fight, and I've definitely got that with Kilburn. The way I see it is Jacob is a very good fighter, but I know that I'm a good fighter too. So everything that he can throw at me, I know that I can throw it right back at him. He's a wild striker. He throws, spinning wheel kicks up at your head. He's quick with his feet too. I've seen those things before. I've fought guys that's done the same exact thing. I do feel like there's parts of the fight that I have some advantages in that I'm looking to expose when we have our match on August 13th.
Would you say that Jacob is the toughest fight of your career thus far?
Oh, for sure. Jacob's been at the top promotion. He's fought 3 times in the UFC. I've not been there yet. And I've not fought anybody before that's been there or even close to being in the UFC. So just his experience alone, him having those tough fights, I think makes him my toughest opponent to date.
All right, so break this one down for me. You've already talked about, he's tough, he's well-rounded, he's a little wild on the feet. What kind of a fight stylistically do you have to make this into to give yourself your best chance of getting your hand raised?
Yeah, I gotta make this into what they call a dirty fight. I gotta push him up against the fence, and I've gotta grind on him. I've got to try to chip away at him until he makes a mistake, and then capitalize that mistake and get a submission or a knockout, and get my hand raised at the end of the night.
Do you think this goes the distance, or do you get him out of there?
It could go the distance. I'm going in there to finish him, but my ultimate goal is to win this fight at whatever means necessary. I don't like leaving the fight into the hands of the judges. I mean, anybody that watches MMA knows that the judges don't always get fights right. So I don't like having my fate put in 3 people's hands. So I'm going in there for the finish, but if I don't get the finish, I'm going to stack those rounds on him and be sure that the judges know at the end of the round who won.
All right. So for a last question for me, for anybody that can't be there in person, is there a way to watch this online? Is there a stream?
Yes, and I will have the link right when the tickets are not for sale anymore. You can go to www.robbiering.com. It'll take you right to the link to buy tickets for this fight right now. A day before my fight, I'm going to switch it to where it'll give you the pay-per-view link and just transfer you over to that link. So www.robbiering.com. Right now, you can get your tickets to come to Nashville. But a day before the fight, I'm going to switch it so you can buy the pay-per-view if you can't make it.
All right, Robbie, pleasure interviewing you for the first time, my man. Before I do let you go, I want to give you the floor. If you want to plug your social media, tell people where to follow you or have anyone to thank, the floor is yours.
Yep, I appreciate it. First off, I want to thank my Lord and him to praise every opportunity I get. I'd like to thank my team, my parents, first and foremost. We've been doing this a long time. I'm only 22 years old, but I had my first MMA fight at 15. So, it's been a long time already. Kim and my parents. I love you all. My gym, Ring Combat Sports. I'd like to give a huge shout out to my management company, Iridium Sports Agency, for always taking care of me. And just a few of my sponsors that I would like to thank: Old North Roofing and Construction. Thank you all for sponsoring me for this fight. Elite Ballers Club in Hillsville, Virginia. Thank you all so much. Ken Dowler. Thank you all. And then last but not least, thanks to all the fans and stuff. If you've not watched me fight before, now's the perfect chance to tune in and see what Robbie Ring has. This is my breakout fight. This is the fight that I can really show the fans, somebody that they can get behind before I get to the big show, because I'm not going to stop working until I get there.